Yo, I thought today I'll make a funny little vengeance guide. Just to haha. So, this guide will go over basically how to play vengeance in raid. Might cover some M plus stuff as well, but I'll make that later. I mean, this is just for progress sake. I'll go over what talents to run, alternatives, the opener, the rotation itself, and how to like actually gear for it. Like for example, what stats to go for, what embellishments to go for, what trinkets to go for, etc. And then I want to go over maybe some boss specific stuff, because I've done a little bit of testing, not too much, but let's see. So who am I, first of all? Well, I am a guy who is really good at pressing Grief Torch. So we'll see if we can keep it up this season, but I have a bit of credibility playing the spec. So we'll see how it goes, yeah? Okay. So, I have face cam on to make it a bit more credible. But let's start off with a little funny thing. Talents. So, a big debate has been, do I play Felscarred or do I play Aldrachi Reaver? Well, I honestly don't think it matters. The difference between the two is so substantially small that honestly, you can pretty much play whatever. I think most people are gonna play Felscarred, and I think it like outperforms Aldrachi Reaver slightly. But if you prefer Aldrachi Reaver over Felscarred, feel free to play it. It's like not a big deal. Although there is some differences in the talents, which I'll go over. Now, for the talents themselves, there's a few differences that you can make. Like, if you don't like pressing Soul Carver, for example, you could just drop it and play Dark Glare. Although, I would still recommend playing Soul Carver. Stoke the Flames is also a little weird one. I would probably play Dark Glare because it's more consistent, but Stoke the Flames has more burst, because Dark Glare is completely useless in your opener. Now, over here, the Hunt. So, the Hunt is playable, and if you're playing Aldrachi Reaver, you have to play Sigil of Spite, or well, formerly Elysian Decree, and Hunt. Now, I would not play Hunt, usually, because it just feels like a weird global to press. Like, especially for Felscarred. Like, you have to farm for it, and then you kind of just fuck over your burst and delay it a bit, whereas Elysian Decree ties perfectly into it. The Collective Anguish is just free damage. Like, I would just play Collective Anguish, like, most of the time. Like, just play this. And then if you need to get more, like points for utility, like if you need to get Darkness, for example, like if you need Muscle to live, like Imprison, fucking Stun, like anything, then you could just drop Collective Anguish. It's not a big deal. So, now, if you want to have a bit more cleave in raid, you just drop Cycle of Binding and go Burning Alive. And if it's like mass AoE, you just drop Soul Carver for Dark Glare, because then you get more Feldev windows. And Soul Carver it's pretty good damage-wise in AoE, but it's mostly a survivability tool in AoE. Like, you press it and you're immortal for 3 seconds. Whereas in single target, it gives really good... it gives a lot of fucking soul fragments. Although, in AoE you also have Fallout, which also gives you a metric fuck ton. Now, let's go over how to actually play it. Now, Felscarred is very weird, and there is a bug with it currently, which I think will get fixed very quickly. I will still go over it, like how to play it, but it is some weird shit with cancelling meta, just because it resets the cooldown of your Feldev, like the empowered Feldev and the normal Feldev don't share cooldown, whatever the fuck. So, the way you play it is, you want to use your Feldev first, to get the 2 Demon Search procs, then you meta to reset all your cooldowns, making sure you have used both your Sigil Flames, and spread them out so that you get the most amount of Student of Suffering uptime possible. And then you just send 5 more Demon Searches, and then whenever meta drops, you get Feldev again, and then you just send it again. So, one thing to note about this Demon Search is that it does fire damage. Firebrand buffs fire damage. So you want to make sure that you get all the 7 Demon Surges in your opener in this Fiery Brand. So, how do you do this? Now, I will just show you a sample opener without the bug. So just to show you how it looks. This is without Lust. With Lust, the rotation is completely different. I will show screenshots of it afterwards. Although I've only really prepped screenshots with the bug. Might update this if the bug gets fixed and or like some more tech gets found out. I don't know. We'll see. So here's how it works. You pre-emo, sigil. Make sure you get your shit up. And sigil flame. And then you go to Feldef. Meta. Full cover, so you get the souls. I see now proc all of them. Then here's where Elysian Decree is weird, because with the bug, you want Elysian Decree like right after. But now, without the bug, now you're kind of just hitting buttons. So now, meta's about to drop. And then I make sure to get a last Sigil of Doom off, which is the Empowered Sigil Flame, so that I can carry it over into this Feldef. And then I just want to maximize the amount of soul cleaves I'm doing. Now, outside of meta, you want to make sure that Fracture is always on cooldown. You don't want to waste it, because then you could go into your Feldef with more Fury. Now, I'm about to overcap on this here. I just send Elysian Decree off cooldown pretty much. This brand will also cover my Feldef, so I am Gucci here. Now I set up for another Feldef, and these Feldefs is where you do most of your damage, right? So then you go 2 Demon Searches, they're covered by Fire Brand, that's perfect. And then you want to Prio Feltblade when you're in your demonic window, because it's half a global, pretty much. So now, that is pretty much it. That is the rotation itself, how to play it. Your shit like this, right? Now, let's go over how the bug works, because my cooldowns are about to come back up. So, the way you do it is I have a macro. I will show you in a second. Just need to find it. I think it's right here. No, it's not right there. Where is it? There it is. So, basically, this is a macro I have to cancel meta. Now, the way you play this opener, I will show it to you right here. This is the opener with Lust. It is very weird. Feel free to screenshot. And then here's the opener without Lust. So here it's like, the difference is, here you Feldef early, because you can get all your setup through before your Feldef drops. And then you can like reduce the amount of fractures you cast by 1. That's pretty much it. That's the only change. But, so, let me do the opener without Lust, just to show you how it looks like. It looks very weird, and you want to cancel your meta at a very specific timer. I'll let you know how it works when I do it. So, you just do the opener standard, double fracture, trinket, sigil flame, brand, Feldef, meta. Then you make sure you proc your demon searches. Now I procced all 7. So I sigil flame, then I cancel the meta and Elysian Decree. So now I get my Feldef very early to make sure that I have it ready for whenever I need to, or like I get an extra Feldef casts per cycle, because whenever you're in your meta, you're just sitting on your Feldef. So you'd rather just cancel it. Now, so the reason why you cancel your meta at a very specific point is this Sigil of Flame here is still empowered. So whenever you use it, like you'll cast Sigil of Doom, and then you can cancel it. And then you can Elysian Decree. So this is to make sure that you optimize this Monster Rising, which increases your agility by 8%. It's very minor, but you have to cancel it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And then this is pretty much it. The reason why we Fellblade here is because this is without Dark Glare. If you have Dark Glare, you will have the Fury to cast the spells that you actually want, but you can't really do that if you're playing Stoke. So that is it for the single target build and the opener. For the rotation itself, like I mentioned, you want to make sure your Fracture stays on cooldown. and you want to make sure that your Fel blade stays on cooldown. Whenever you go into your Fel dev windows, then you want to Sigil Flame, like right before it, and you want to go in with High Fury and 5 Soul Fragments. Because then you can just immediately Fel dev, Spirit Bomb, and spam Soul Cleaves, which is ideal. Absolutely ideal. Now the way the rotation lines up, like if you're playing Dark Lair, for example, your second Fel dev, or second Fel dev outside of your burst, will not align with your brand. You just send your brand anyway, because it still aligns well enough for your meta. Although, if you're playing Stoke, you can also hold the brand, because you're holding meta for a bit anyway. And then Firebrand will still align with your meta, so it fits perfectly. Now, how do you play Aldrachi Reaver? Well, Aldrachi Reaver is a lot easier to play. This one to make sure that you optimize like your buffs, like for example, you get Thrill of the Fight whenever you actually have damage, and that you keep 100% uptime on 2 stacks of Reaver's Mark. Now, the way you play it is you just generate as many soul fragments as possible, and spam Soul Cleave, and then make sure you keep your buffs up. And then whenever you press your glaive, then you Soul Cleave and you Fracture. It's important to note that you can hold these buttons for as long as you want. Like actually as long as you want. So since your Fracture has to be your second global, you can just spam Soul Cleave, then Fellblade, and then you can Fracture when you actually need it. I'll show you an example opener. This is not as optimized, but I'll show it anyway. So this, go in. And then you just send everything in this window right here. And then with Lust, you get another Reaver's Glaive here. And then I hold this proc until my buff drops. And then I send it. And then this is where you do all of your damage pretty much. You send all your damage into this buff window right here, the Thrill of the Hunt, or whatever it's called. And then you just farm your next glaive. Like you just spam Fracture and Soul Cleave. And then press Sigil Flames whenever you have damage. Like here. So now I can send a few damage buttons, because I have this up. And now I have Firebrand coming up. I almost have another proc here. This proc I just send right away. And then whenever this is sent, then I just soul cover, because then I get insane value. Now, this is, like I said, not as optimized, at least on my end. Like, I can optimize this a bit more, but it is, the fundamentals of it are very similar. Or no, very simple rather. Just spam Fractures and Soul Cleaves. That is pretty much it. And then there's some optimizations you could do with delaying your glaives, saving your glaives. Like Hunt gives you extra glaives, so you could pretty much keep 100% uptime on Reaver's Mark. And that is the way you play Aldrachi Reaver. Now, let's go over the gear and the stats. So the best simming trinkets at the moment are 2 dungeon trinkets. The Arakara Sackbrood is absolutely busted. I think this is going to get nerfed. It gives way too much agility. Like right now, I only have 2 stacks of it. It gives 2k agility, which is very, very strong for a trinket. It does decent passive damage, nothing out of the ordinary. And it procs very often. Now, the reason why I have Signet of the Priory is for the Felscarred bursts. Now, what you should actually farm is Necrotic Wake, because it also has a very well simming trinket. Where's this? Necrotic Wake. This one. This is apparently simming very high. So, but we'll obviously see when the raid comes out. There's also some pretty decent trinkets from raid. Like, there is... Where's it? There's this one. Foul Behemoth, whatever the fuck. This trinket is probably the best tank trinket they have ever made. It increases your max health, which is like permanent. It's fucking insane. and it does good damage. And like, I don't know, it's just broken. Like, if you want a raid trinket that makes you tanky, play this, because this will do good damage, and it will also make you like fucking unkillable, like at the end of the fight. Now, you will also get Prio on this if you're playing in a semi-decent guild, because they'll know, oh hey, this is a tank trinket, we should give this to tanks. So yeah, this trinket is nutty. Now, another one up for contention is the Nexus Princess trinket. It doesn't do that much, and it's more AoE oriented, but you're playing Void Reaver's Warp Blade anyway, so you can make use of the 2-set bonus from it. Very strong. Now, in terms of embellishments, we're not too sure what to play yet. The sims are still kind of wonky. Although, right now it's saying like some random ass embellishment. We'll see later. The tuning is still weird. And this one right here, which is one of the Dark Moon fucking embellishments. This gives a lot of secondary stats for pretty much free, but it can only be made on weapons. So you're playing this weapon and a crafted weapon. Assuming there are no changes through Heroic Week and you're going to Mythic Week, you can just be safe to craft one of these weapons whenever you have the Enchanted quest for it as your first craft. Although I'd still be cautious. Don't use your spark yet. Like, if you use the spark yet, you're a fucking moron. Don't do it. Just be safe out there. In terms of stats, want to stack as much haste as possible. This is true for both builds. If you're playing Aldrachi Reaver, you get a lot more souls per minute, so you get a lot more glaives. With Felscarred, it allows you to get your burst through quicker. Like, for example, like if you hit a certain haste break point during Lust, for example, where if you abuse the bug, you can get 9 demon surges in 1 fiery brand, which is absolutely insane. Then otherwise, you want to just put your stats into crit and verse. You want to avoid mastery like the plague. It doesn't give you that much value. And both verse and crit are pretty equal defensively. Maybe verse is slightly ahead. So just try to prio haste, then verse, then crit. But pretty much anything works, like in that regard. Now, in terms of dungeons to spam, like whenever the season comes out, spam Arakara as much as possible. It drops pretty decent loot, and it drops a really good trinket. And then spam Necrotic Wake, because it drops a good trinket as well. And that is pretty much it for what to spam and what to craft. So, some boss specific stuff. So there isn't much tech that you could do, like in the raid, although there's some shit on Silken Cord. Like maybe like you could hold your Felscarred windows for whenever the damage buffs happened. And stuff like that. Olgrax, I know it's the first boss, but there's some stuff you can optimize there. Like, for example, don't use your fucking meta to pad in the intermission. That is cringe. Don't do that. I will do that. Don't steal my logs, please. And if my raid leader hears this, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. So that is it for the very specific raid stuff. So that is also pretty much it for the guide. There isn't much more to cover, at least single target wise. In AoE, you want to prio Spirit Bomb a bit more. Although, like, whenever we get our tier set, which increases our Soul Cleave damage, Soul Cleave also goes up in value. So keep that in mind. Like, I recommend, whenever you have the tier set, just Soul Cleave when there's 4 targets. Or like up to 4 targets. Then you do Soul Cleave. And then you swap to Spirit Bomb when there's 5+. Although with Aldrachi Reaver, you pretty much just spam Soul Cleave. Like, I don't know. You just send it. Cool T-Mog. Say thank you, champ. XO. Okay. Well, that is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I don't know how long this is. 20 minutes. And yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, that was criminal. Fuck. GG.